Hello again, everyone, and welcome to this episode of One-on-One. I'm Martin Foss. Today we have a very special guest. She has risen in politics, but she's been around the community for quite some time. Ms. Beryl Amedee is going to be my guest today on One-on-One. Stick around. One-on-One is brought to you by the Law Office of Waits and Downer. When was the first inkling that either somebody came up to you or you decided, or however it happened, you just said, I got to run for office because maybe I don't like the way this is going, or maybe I just think I could do better, or maybe, when was that time period?
Actually, there was no one single moment. It was a gradual thing over the years, and here's how it happened. As a mom, homeschooling my children, we homeschooled before homeschool was cool. Mm-hmm. We homeschooled so early that curriculum companies wouldn't even sell us textbooks directly. Like, for example, Abeka is one of the biggest names in private school, Christian school textbooks. Mm-hmm. Abeka would not sell me a fourth grade science book. Abeka would sell me 30 fourth grade science books. So they only sold to schools, not to individuals. And so early on, we had to go in and design our own curriculum and find what we could. And maybe we'd wait for a Christian school to get the new edition in, and they'd sell us their old edition at garage sale prices. Mm-hmm. So I'm saying that to say that we were homeschooling before people really, the general public really understood it or accepted it. And there were many people in positions of power who tried to purposely limit or regulate what we could do. So as a homeschooler, somebody in Congress attempted to pass a bill at the national level that would have made what I was doing illegal by saying that only parents who are certified teachers can teach their own children in their own home. And I got involved in the effort to kill that bill, and we killed it so well that Congress has never tried it since, and that was like 1996. Mm-hmm. But at the state level, they didn't learn that lesson probably yet. There are still efforts in many ways to limit or regulate homeschooling. But it's much easier now to fight that because we have a homeschool population that's just grown exponentially by now. So what happened is, I'm just at home teaching my own kids, minding my own business, and I start getting phone calls from time to time about different things like the congressional effort to regulate homeschools or to actually virtually outlaw them. I would get other phone calls, like the time here in Terrebonne Parish, somebody was trying to push a daytime curfew ordinance that would say that school-aged children couldn't be anywhere but school on a school day. And if they were found anywhere else, the police could pick them up, bring them downtown, and parents would have to come and get them. I wasn't even on the little committee that was formed to try and get to do this. I got invited in as a guest, and when I came in, I brought information about how that's unconstitutional. And the meeting blew up, and today we still don't have a daytime curfew ordinance in Terrebonne Parish. Mm-hmm. And so things like this would happen over time. I call them divine appointments because it's nothing that I did, it's nothing that I looked for, it's things that came to me. And so all I did was keep walking through the open doors, keep taking those opportunities to protect what I feel is important. So fast forward a few years, and someone wanted to open a truck stop casino next to H.L. Bourgeois. And I live right there. And I knew that the law says you can't open a casino next to a school, a library, a daycare, or a church. Well, it's right next to H.L. Bourgeois and virtually across the street from a public library. So I went to the zoning and planning meeting to complain. Well, they apparently liked my speech so much that a few weeks later they called and asked me if I wanted to have a seat on the Zoning and Planning Commission because there was a member that needed to step down so he could move some property because it was going to be a conflict. Mm-hmm. So when I got that phone call, it looked kind of like this. They said, Beryl, would you like a seat on the Zoning and Planning Commission? And I said, yes, sure. But I think that it was a perfect opportunity to learn so many things. It was perfect training to be on the parish council, which was something I wasn't looking for either. I had never planned to ever be in elected office. It wasn't on my radar. But what I was doing was following my passions about what I felt is important. It's important to me that parents get to direct the education of their children. It's important to me that things like casinos are not right next to schools or across from libraries. Those kinds of things are important to me. So when I took action to protect what I believe is important, that's when doors opened, and I ended up having the opportunity to run for a position. Running for parish council was the first elected seat that I ever ran for. It's not something that I had planned. It just seemed like the next best logical step to be able to fix what was broken or to protect what I thought was important. And so after 4 years on zoning and planning, that was a prime education opportunity that set me up to be able to spend time on the parish council. It was excellent training ground. You learn all about property boundaries and all kinds of important things. So after 4 years on the parish council, I saw that the House member who represented me had some issues that made him vulnerable as a candidate. And so I started thinking, the parish council deals with some very important issues. But the issues that are most dear to my heart are settled more at the state level than they are at the parish level. Like, for example, the parish doesn't really have a say in right-to-life issues. The parish council doesn't even really deal with the school board, not on education, maybe on property or something, but not on education. The parish council is not making laws concerning religious freedom or any of those things. So the state government could handle bills on such a broad variety of topics. It could touch any and all of those things. And so when that opportunity came up, I decided, well, okay, I'll run. If I don't win against a seated incumbent, then at least I will have built name recognition. I can try again the next year when it's an open seat. Because I really didn't expect to win. I don't come from a family that has a background in elected office. I think I'm the first person in any generation that ever ran for any political office. I don't come from a background where our family has big name recognition. My dad was an oil field worker. He wasn't a doctor or an attorney or anyone else that might have their name on signs and billboards. My grandfather in Thibodeau retired from working in the sugarcane industry. So looking back in our family history, we don't have a big broadly known name. So that was my whole goal in running for the first time at the state level for the House, was really name recognition. But I ended up winning.
For all of your cases, including those with catastrophic significance, call Waits and Downer Law Firm. It just seems like I'm not going to say your life is predetermined, but you've seen opportunities and embraced them. You haven't said, oh, no, I can't do this. So at least you had a confidence level that, hey, okay, God put this in front of me. I'm going for it. Where'd you get that from?
Well, you said confidence level. That made me giggle because I don't know that it's confidence as much as it is that adventurous spirit that we talked about earlier. It's like, hey, that looks like it could be fun. Let's try it. So that's really what it was. Because as I said, I didn't expect to win.
Some people came up to you and said, Beryl, don't do that. Don't do that. You probably went, I'm doing it.
Oh, yeah. Yes, at the time, I had an errand running and personal assisting business. And when I told one of my clients, I said, oh, just to let you know, I'm going to be running for this seat. She came up to me and put her arm around me and she said, dear, oh, please don't do that. And I said, why not? She said, they're going to eat you alive. And I laughed. And it's like, you don't know me that well, do you? So, no.
So Baton Rouge was, I mean, you're on the local level with the council and with the planning commission, and when you got to Baton Rouge, did you go, or did you go, wow, this was made for me?
More of the wow, this was made for me. One of the freshmen that came in this year, near the end of the regular session that we just finished, he said, I've come to realize something. This is a perfect place for anyone who's hyperactive, because there is something going on all the time. There's more to look into than you possibly have time for. You can't be an expert on every bill that comes before you, and so there's just never a dull moment. And I think, you know, he hit the nail on the head. It's like, yes, that's it. That's what I love about it. Mainly, it's the opportunity to use the same number of hours that I have in a week that I could spend helping people, to help a much larger number of people than I could have ever reached just working by myself, you know, from home. Like, as an individual, I can help my family, I can help some neighbors. Through our church, I can help a broader number of people, and that's still very important, but right now God's got me on the civil government path. Being on the Zoning and Planning Commission, you can help some people. Being on the parish council, you represent your district, but everything you do, you're hopefully helping parish-wide. Well, being in the state legislature, again, I represent my district, but the laws that we pass, or don't pass, have the potential to affect way more than just my district. The work that I'm doing there can affect the entire state, and in fact has already affected the entire country. There are bills that we have passed that have gotten national and sometimes even international attention, and we, under this current governor, I'm so excited because we can do that even more effectively than we could in my past 8 years, because we had a governor that had different plans, a
Especially
different focus.
abortion issues, you know?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So some of the laws that we've just recently been able to pass this year, this session, or the last, we had 2 special sessions before. So some of the laws we've been able to pass this year are being held up as model language. They're being picked up in other states. And some of the bills, or even bills that I've carried, my bill on central bank digital currency is language that's being shared in other states and being passed in other states. My bill concerning not discriminating against students based on their vaccine status, it's just spreading out, and it encourages other states to try some of those same things. And even my bill that didn't pass this year, I called it the Don't Say Free bill, which is the one about truth in advertising when it's coming from the government. That bill didn't pass, but it made so many waves, and there are organizations that operate nationwide that love the idea, and they've picked it up as model language, and they're recommending it to other states now. And so I have the opportunity, I can bring it back, and maybe we will pass it here. But if nothing else ever comes of it, we've started the conversation. And so that's the fun I'm having. That's what's important to me, to protect what I feel is most important, convictions and everything that's based on the U.S. Constitution, the state Constitution, to protect all that, and then to advance as we can, to try and bring society back to some sense of morality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, bring our forefathers in mind too when we do it. For all of your cases, including those with catastrophic significance, call Waits and Downer Law Firm. Let me ask you this as we wind down this program. What do you and John talk about when y'all get home? Does politics enter the equation, or is it, nope, I don't want to hear about it?
Well, most evenings, it depends on whether he had a council meeting or he has one coming up, or whether I'm in session or what have you. But yes, very, very often we're having political conversations where we talk about what we're getting done, or our frustration and what we're not getting done, or you know, can you believe somebody did this, or somebody proposed that, or just anything that we're both dealing with in our
Y'all could be
offices.
perfect pincushions for each other because y'all both in it.
Yes, and sometimes we have to just put the brakes on and say, we're not talking about that tonight. We're, just leave all. It's like when you get home from work. Sometimes you just want to close the door on work and refresh. And so that's what we have to do often.
I don't want to see news when I get home.
Yes,
Tired
I
of seeing
understand.
it,
I understand. And so we do maybe let off steam or whatever if we're in the middle of things politically in our jobs. But there's so much else. There's so much else.
Mm-hmm.
That's just minor. That's just a portion of what we have to discuss.
Y'all both very spiritual, so.
Yes. So we're always working on whatever we're involved with in church. We're always concerned about our family, our extended family, not only our children, but I only have one sister left. John's siblings are nearby. So we have so much more to life. It's not just about the parish council or the state legislature. There's everything else. We have family, we have neighbors, we have a community, we have dogs, we have grass to cut, we have
And I'm glad you recognize
everything that everybody else has.
Some people lose that, and unfortunately, I tell you, time flies when you come on here.
Mm-hmm.
If I got John in a room and I got all your state legislators that you work with, your former council people, if I was able to get your mom and dad and able to get your family or any deceased members, and I put them all in a room. I said, okay, John, I'm going to let you orchestrate this. I want you to come back with one word that describes Beryl. What would you hope the one word would be?
Well, my first thought was they'd probably all agree on stubborn, but I believe that when they settle in, I think the one word that they could all agree on is conviction. Yeah. Because anybody that knows me well or anybody that knows me a little bit and had to work with me knows that conviction, I don't budge. It's not that you can't change my mind. It's that I'm not going to change my mind unless and until you bring me information that's better than what I already understand. Mm-hmm. And so conviction, some might call it stubbornness. Depends on which way you're trying to move me.
Well, conviction meets stubbornness at the railroad track.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
But yes, every major decision I have to make, and even a bunch of the minor ones, it's all based on conviction about, is it right? Is it true? I have to look at myself in the mirror. I have to be able to sleep at night. But most of all, I have to be able to give an answer to my children, my grandchildren, and one day I'm going to stand face to face with the Lord, and I'm going to have to give an answer, and I want to be able to have a clear conscience and say I did the best that I could.
It's a conviction would suit you well, no doubt.
Well, thank you.
I thank you for joining us on One-on-One. I appreciate it. And we look for some big things from you.
Yep.
And I'm sure you'll keep us posted on it. But thank you so much for joining us, and we appreciate your service to our community and our state.
Thank you.
All right. For all of your cases, including those with catastrophic significance, call Waits and Downer Law Firm. This one-on-one program has been brought to you by the law offices of Waits and Downer.